Good day, everyone, and it's a pleasure to be here to share some of the projects that we are working on in Ghana. And I'm presenting together with my colleagues, Dr. Adam Rahman and then Mr. Anthony Kofi Badu from the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. I'd like to apologize that they are not here because we are currently in our exams week. So they are engaged. So I'm here on everyone's behalf. All right, so I'm talking about circular economy and advertising, an eco-friendly upcycling process for non-biodegradable prints. So these are the overview for our presentation. We'll basically be looking at a few core thematic areas, which is design and specifically design thinking, and how we apply that to recycling, upcycling, and then throw more light on our purpose. And of course, the other areas that you can see on the screen are the core themes that we'll look at for the day. And on the next slide, all right, so first of all, let me share these. We normally work through the design process when it comes to recycling and upcycling. So these are some of the core definitions that I wanted to give us a background to set the scene for our discussion today. So we starting our process from design thinking allows us to understand our context much better, and also make us learn more about how some of these practices with regards to recycling or upcycling is done within our context. And it gives us a better assumptions to be able to also define possible strategies or solutions to the problem of waste with regards to advertising waste that we find within our communities. So recycling, also from the Environmental Protection Agency, indicates that, of course, it's a process of collecting and processing materials that we would have left in the landfill, like what we have with our flex banners or advertising waste. And then, more importantly, we are also looking at upcycling, which is also for us to recycle or reuse something in a way that increases the original value of the objects. And on the next slide, our core purpose was mainly to explore ways of upcycling flex banners to foster circular economy and sustainability within our context, because there is a lot of billboard advertising on the rise now in our country. And day in and day out, a lot of people are advertising using the flex banners, and there's really no plan on how to recycle it after it's been used. And so it became imperative that we look at that, so that right from the school or the university perspective, as we train designers, they also are conscious of how they can build sustainability practices into some of the prints that they make as they go forward. So we're trying to promote that as part of our teaching process, and also training our learners and also community members to engage with these practices. And also develop sustainable protocols for design firms so that they can really look at the single use of the flex banners for outdoor advertising, so that they can actually save the planet. Sorry. And yeah, we were talking about the fact that we're looking at developing sustainable protocols to minimize the waste generated from single-use advertising, so that we can save the planet. But most importantly, the idea was to also get learners to get acquainted with the outdoor advertising that they design, they should also think about the end life of it and begin to redesign around that so that it doesn't end up in the landfill or just littered around. So as I indicated early on, there is a lot of improper disposal of the flex banners all around us, and it is really becoming a lot of problem for um, people in our community and also for the sanitation department, because government is doing so much to actually clean the environment, and sometimes these billboards or banners are actually left. Others, sometimes you find it torn and all that, but they don't really dispose of it well. In high advertising firms, when they sell the space, and of course they are done with it, they would take it down, but the next stage of it is the problem. So it's really challenging at the moment. So the flex banners are sometimes also bent, and you know how that can also affect the environment and also pollute the environment. So that is the key areas with when it comes to the flex banners and how they are disposed of in our environment. So this is an example of some of the outdoor advertising, and you find in the open space or public spaces that these billboards are all over the place, and each day there's a new one coming up. But like I said, it's just so problematic about how it's going to end up after that. So we focused on the only the flex banners for now, and rather look at how we can do a lot of materials or artifacts from it, and also establishing a protocol that can be used by advertising firms when they are done with the adverts. So this is also another example within a locality. You can see everybody likes print on the flex banners. Yes. So that's how it looks like within a context. And I'm sure it's also similar in other parts of Africa. Then more examples. So it's really now very predominant everywhere. So then it gives us an idea that there is always the possibility to get access to the materials to use. So as we continue to experiment and work around these things, we'll be able to come up with a more circular economy that can help with the advertising firms on how they use these things. And on the next slide, we explored the 3R principles as a start, but of course we are looking at more of the R's as we go forward. And so the principles were very much on the reduce, reuse, and recycle concepts. And so that really became one of the pillars to start the conversations around this, and also start the practical activities and trainings on the upcycling processes. And on the next slide, so with the reduce, for example, doing actually making sure that the learners are conscious about the fact that when we always need to buy things that we can use, so that we don't buy things that we wouldn't use and then it keeps filling up in our spaces. And also reusing our item as much as possible so that we make sure that we make the best out of it, and also think about the proper way of disposing it off through recycling of the materials to reduce waste. So that gives us the sustainable waste process model for the flex banners. And on the next slide, we also we're looking at a circular economy, which is also looking at regenerating natural systems, keeping the products and materials in use, and design out waste and pollution. And so these principles became part of the design process and also design methodologies, right from designing the advertising itself to the end life of the product, and also actually redesigning or upcycling the flex banners after it has been put out there. All right, so on the next slide, our methods or the design process for upcycling the flex banners. So we looked at the design thinking processes, which was more about understanding the context and also looking at the divergent ways in which we can ideate to find interesting ways of working around the flex banners. And again, we move on to choose the best ideas where we felt can easily be done and people can also appreciate that as a product. And we move on to prototyping some of the samples that we made from the flex banners and also validate that by giving it to real users to actually engage with it and give us feedback so that we have the opportunity to see how people really respond to these things. So this is basically where or how we looked at it in terms of the process. But why did we have to choose the design process? The reason is that it was very people-centered. So it gave us the chance for learners to really participate and right from the starting of the design process, they are really immersed in that. And beyond that, we can also find out from the potential end users of the possible products that we can create to give us a better idea on what kind of products or artifacts they would appreciate from some of the iterations that we are going to make and some of the prototypes that we are going to make. And again, it also provides the opportunity to have a very highly creative process, not only for the product development, but also for the learners themselves, because we really wanted right from the university for them to get used to that concept as they go into practice. Yes. And also, it also gave them the chance to stimulate new ideas, also think outside the box, and also challenge conventions that can actually give sustainable solutions that they can really relate to and is relevant in their professional practice. So it's also hands-on, so then they can actually learn about the concept, they can practice and also apply that. And it's also iterative, so it gives them the chance to plan, do, check, and also act on it. And these are some of the creative outcomes from the process. I would move on to the next slide for us to see that. So, for example, this is an example of the flex banners that our learners made into a school bag. The idea was to also give these bags to the low resource communities around us so that school-going children can have access to school bags to from these materials which would have gone waste, but eventually they are also learning about how to make them as well so that they are able to take that concept forward. So this was made from flex material and a little bit of waste fabrics that we found around to give it that Ghanaian signature. So you find our kente cloth here. So it shows that it's from our side. And it also allowed our learners to also move beyond what they were used to also challenge the new perspectives about these using waste materials, because they wanted to do it in a way that they themselves could also use it and others can also use. So if people at the university level can actually use this, then it's even more appreciated by other people as well. Yeah. So that's one of the examples. And this is also one of the flex banners in the process of being woven into another object. So you can see that he was trying different textures because we had to change the materials, arrange the patterns in a way that it will really create interesting ones using the same materials without, as much as possible, without getting newer items, so that we make the best of the materials that were found. But of course, it always goes through the cleaning process. We make sure that everything is clean and proper, and they can develop the samples, think about the texture of the surface, etc. And I think that, sorry, in the project video that we shared, you can find some of the additional examples made from there. Okay, so on the next slide, these are some of the examples that were made using the flex banners from advertising waste. So yeah, so I'm sure that some of our ladies would like to have one. Okay, so on the next slide, I like to show a quick video of the process itself so that we can see how it's sewn and all of that. All right, thank you for the little break. And sorry, I'm moving. All right, so I'll say that we're looking for more partnerships and research collaborations on the project, and we are really looking at working from the research front. And as our previous presenters shared their work, we are also looking at how we can scale out some of these things in different regions, not only in higher education, but also at the lower levels, and create interesting awareness and programs around upcycling within our local context, so that people can appreciate the concept of we reusing our things, making sure that we upcycle and save the environment, and also sensitizing the advertising firms to actually think about um, the sustainable models that can work, from designing the flex banners themselves, and after its use, how best they can also benefit from these flex banners, not only for us that we are collecting and working on it, but they themselves. So more deeper stakeholder engagement from our different regions in terms of research and sharing ideas. I believe that as we do this, we'll be able to improve the concept of upcycling, and also people will be better informed about what upcycling is all about, so that we can have a better world. All right, so these are some of the references and resources, that we used. So thank you so much, and I will leave room for more questions and feedback.